No doubt. All right, now to ABC7 News reporter Ryan Curry, live in the East Bay where the frost advisory is causing some in agriculture to take precautions. Ryan?
Yeah, good afternoon, Kristen and Larry. Here in the East Bay Hills, we're already starting to feel the effects of the cold weather come into play. This cold air coming in, certainly now starting to feel it as the wind blows up. The start of the year, we had those spring-like temperatures, and a lot of us started to feel like maybe spring had come early. Now that's not so much the case, and places like wineries and plant nurseries are now starting to have to make adjustments.
Roll this out and put it over our succulents here.
KRIS BRYAN-KJAER is demonstrating what she is going to do tonight to protect some of her plants from the cold. She owns YARROW Nursery in the Oakland Hills. The frost advisory over the next few days is causing her to take precautions to protect some of the things she sells.
Anything new growth on plants you should protect because it's naturally tender just because it's new.
New growth has been a common theme for her customers recently. She says the warm weather to start the year has forced some into thinking spring has come early, and therefore people have bought plants that don't do well in the cold.
We had this warm spell, and I think people have been buying these things that might be frost tender, and then we're getting this frost warning right after, which is just like dramatic shift.
She is advising people to still wait a few weeks before planting any tender plants. The frost may be bad news for people with those plants, but it is good news for some local wineries.
Frost during dormancy is actually, we want that because we want the vines to go all the way to bed. And what puts them to bed is the frost.
NIKI WENTE at WENTE Vineyards says the frost is going to help their vines stay dormant till later in the spring, which she says will help their long-term growth. She says a small percentage of their vines will die in the frost, but it is not enough for her to be worried.
Because we're in the state that we're in right now, we're less than 1% of bud break. We're probably just going to take it as a loss on whatever the crop does damage.
The nerve-wracking part for her is what happens in the next 2 weeks. What she doesn't want to see is a rapid fluctuation of warm to cold temperatures.
I see next week it's going to get up to 70 degrees again, and then it's going to go back down to 50 again. So those kind of temperature fluctuations aren't great because we are going to start to see more bud break. So we'll just keep an eye on it.
So some good news and some bad news when it comes to the cold temperatures this week. The winery says it is unusual to see vine growth this time of year. They're hoping that the spring is actually better for them. Meanwhile, if you are starting to plan your spring garden a little early, the place in Oakland says it's best to just wait for maybe the end of March to start planting. We're live in the East Bay. Ryan Curry, ABC7 News.
Ryan, thank you.